Well, hello there. It is Tuesday, February the 18th, 2020, um, Journal 284, and I believe it is T+321. I can confirm that on Thursday when I go back to the City of Hope. I always check to make sure that I'm on the right day, especially getting so close to the 1 year anniversary. Today, I'd like to talk about problems because everybody's got them. It's something that's universal, isn't it? We've all been confronted with problems or obstacles or barriers of one kind, challenges of one kind or another, and in many cases they seem insurmountable. They seem like they're unending. They won't. They're unrelenting. They just won't go away, and they make life challenging, if not impossible. Certainly difficult at times. But I have a contention for you. I've thought about this a lot, and I've seen it work in other instances, um, and I'd like to suggest something that's kind of counterintuitive in a way, and that is that you may not have a problem at all. What you may be confronted with is a choice. And let me explain what I mean by that. If you have a problem, and the problem you have can be solved by the application of resources, which is a polite way of saying money, cash, um, and you have the cash, the money, the resources, you don't have a problem. You have a choice. You have a choice between spending the money to solve the problem quickly, efficiently, easily, maybe even completely. You can make the bad man go away. Or you can go ahead and follow another path and see if you can find a workaround that may not be as efficient, may not be as effective, but won't necessarily require that you invest as much in solving the problem and making the bad man go away as you would otherwise. We kind of talked about this in the last blog post that we did, Instinct and Intuition, Process and Systems, where we talked about the technology involved in better decision making. And this is kind of a modification of that to some degree, in the respect that you probably still should establish a baseline. It's always good to know when you're embarking on a journey that you know where you started so you can determine how far you've come and the effective benefit that you've gotten from that. Once you've done that, it's always a good idea to clearly define the problem that you're facing. It isn't enough just to know that there's something standing in the way of achieving great performance, but it's better to know exactly what that something is. Once you know what that something is, once you've established what obstacle is standing in the way of achieving great performance, you've got to determine the cause. You've got to figure out what's causing the problem, what circumstance has allowed that problem to bubble to the surface. It's not a bad idea to figure out who owns that problem also, which is, important because while you can remove an obstacle, a challenge, a barrier that you're responsible for, you can't remove an obstacle. You can't remove somebody else's obstacle. So it's important to determine the cause of the problem and who owns that problem, who truly owns that problem. And then you have to discern a solution, out of many choosing one. What is the solution to the problem? Once you've done that, once you've identified what the solution to the problem is, or what the most likely solution to the problem is, you can stop, take inventory for a moment, and figure out what it'll take to fix that problem. Whether it's going to take some kind of prodigious effort or energy to mitigate the circumstances in some way to make the problem go away, or whether or not applying resources, adequate resources, to the source of the problem, which can be translated as cash and often is, whether or not that'll solve the problem. And if it'll solve the problem, you don't have a problem. You've got a choice. You've got a choice of whether or not to spend the money or find some kind of an alternative available resource to make that bad man go away. Certainly something to think about, as the reality is that you, me, all of us, are going to be dealing with problems for the rest of our lives. In the book Setting the Table by Danny Myers, a very famous restaurateur, the guy who owns the Shake Shack and Blue Smoke and a number of other really critically acclaimed restaurants, tells a story of his grandfather, who was his mentor, his first mentor, telling him that business is problems. Business equals problems. I think life is the same thing. I don't think that you can get away from that. So think about the next time you're facing a barrier, obstacle, problem, and what it's going to take to make the bad man go away, what it's going to take to fix it. In the meantime, stay well, take care. I'm not sure whether I'll be able to post tomorrow. I have a meeting at the City of Hope, and then Thursday, again, I have an appointment with my hemonc doctor, my hematologist oncologist, as for a checkup and to make sure everything's moving along, and make sure there are no problems. Okay, till tomorrow or the next day or the day after that. Stay well and take care.